Welcome, Wild Kids. Welcome back to our next ETHS Career Pathway Info session. I'm Michelle Vasquez, the ETHS Post-Secondary Counselor in College and Career Services. Thank you for being here with us this evening. Tonight, we are highlighting some of our local business partners in the arts and communication pathway. Soon you will hear from Ms. Tana Francelno, our ETHS Career Partnership and Work-Based Learning Coordinator. She'll be introducing each of our business partners, offering entry-level work-based learning opportunities for our Evanston youth. This evening, we are excited to share with students, families, and staff 5 local business partners in this pathway. They are Northlight Theater in Skokie, Hyatt House Hotel in Evanston, the Evanston Roundtable, Butcher Boy School of Music Production, and Oakton College Graphic Design and Communication Department. Before we start, I just want to give a little reminder to our students in grades 10 through 12 that the iKit Spring Break Job Shadow Week application opens February 1st. If you're a student interested and available during Spring Break 2023, April 3rd through 7th, please apply. You'll be paid $15 an hour for up to 20 hours to explore a career path that interests you. After your application is received and reviewed by Ms. Francelno and I, qualified students will be asked to interview so we can find your employer match. We look forward to reading all of our students' applications and resumes in the coming months. And students, stay tuned to your school announcements, school links, messages, and your emails for more information as we get closer to February. If you want to know more about the iKit Spring Break Job Shadow Week and the iKit Summer Internship for graduating seniors, please be sure to go to our ETHS Career Pathway Google site by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen. These opportunities, they may be perfect for you or maybe someone that you know. All right, so let's now get to our lineup of Career Pathway speakers in arts and communication. And again, thank you for being here with us.
Hey, E-Town, it's Miss Francelno here. We are here again with our next career info session panel. This month, we're featuring careers in the arts and communications pathway. And I'm very excited to have our friends over at Northlight Theater here today to talk to us about career opportunities and positions in theater. So welcome, Ruben.
Hi, Tana. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. So my name is Ruben Carazana, and I am the Community Engagement Manager at Northlight Theater. So I was just going to take a couple of minutes to tell you a little bit about Northlight and the different job opportunities that exist at a professional theater company like Northlight, and also give you a little bit of insight into my own career pathway. So on this slide right here, you can see some information on Northlight Theater. So we are a professional theater company located in Skokie. However, we were founded in Evanston in 1974, a very, very long time ago. We typically produce 5 plays a year, and they are generally newer plays, smaller plays. We don't really do really large musicals. If we ever do a musical, it's usually a pretty small musical with like 2 to 5 performers in a small band or orchestra. And we have almost 50,000 audience members who come to see our shows each year. A little bit of news that some of you might be aware of is that we were founded in Evanston, and we are moving back to Evanston in a couple of years. We are going to build a new building in downtown Evanston. We bought some property there, we tore it down, and we will start building at some point next year. So the plan is to have a new building in downtown Evanston in the next 2 to 3 years, which is going to be really nice to be right in the heart of Evanston. So a little bit about the possible careers at Northlight Theater. So we employ many, many artists, right, for each of our shows, right? So of course, there are the actors that you see on stage. If there's any music, we hire musicians, playwrights who actually write the scripts, directors, designers, and technicians for all of the technical elements, right? Everything from the scenery, the costumes, lights, sound, props, hair and makeup. We need designers and technicians for all of those things. A stage manager, who is the person who runs rehearsals, and once the show actually starts performances, they're really the person who's in charge. choreographers, if there's any moments of dance, if there's any stage combat on stage, we need choreographers for that. If there's any moments of intimacy, we hire choreographers for that. And of course, teaching artists for all of our educational programs. Then on the administrative side of things, we have our artistic director and our executive director, the managing director, development, which is in charge of raising money because we are a nonprofit theater company. So they raise money from individual donors and grants and different funding organizations so that we can do all of the great stuff that we do. Our finance department, we have people that work in marketing. So if you're interested in graphic design, creating posters, social media, the marketing department is in charge of all of that. Of course, our education department, and then the production department, which is in charge of actually producing the shows on the stage. So lots of different aspects, lots of different things that go into running a professional theater company and producing theater. So a little bit about me. So when I was in high school, I joined the school drama club, and I'm originally from Miami. So I did school plays all throughout middle school and high school. While I was in high school, I entered a bunch of high school theater competitions, and I read lots of plays. Really, really loved reading plays. And that's really where I kind of like got ideas for like monologues to take to competition and all of that stuff. And if I ever read a play that I thought was really interesting, I would bring it to my high school theater teacher, and we would end up taking it to one-act competitions or producing it at our school. And I also used student discounts to see lots of plays around town when I was living in Miami. Once I graduated from high school, I decided to move to Dallas to get my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater at Southern Methodist University. It was a 4-year program. And then while I was there during the summers, I would go back home to Miami and work at a theater where I would build scenery, and I would also assist and stage manage. And while I was in college, I would also use student discounts to see all sorts of plays in Dallas. After I graduated from college, I worked as an actor and a director and a writer and a producer and a teaching artist in Dallas. I was there for a couple of years. Eventually, I moved to Chicago in June of last year, where I am now a freelance theater artist. So I still do all of those things around town, but I am also the community engagement manager at Northlight Theater, which is where I am right now. I'm in the Northlight Theater offices. And I also signed with Grossman Jacktown Agency, which is a agent who sends me out for auditions. Finally, I can tell you a little bit about youth opportunities at Northlight Theater. So at Northlight, we have a group called the Northlight Youth Council. This is a group of high school teens that we meet with twice a month from September through June. We take them to go see all of the shows at Northlight for free. They go see a bunch of shows at other theaters around town. We introduce them to different guest artists and do mini workshops. They can do Q&As with these guest artists that we bring in. The applications for next year's Northlight Youth Council, if you're interested, go live in July for the 2022-2023 season. So if you're interested, keep a lookout for that. Go to our website sometime around July, or you can email me and I can give you more information on that. Finally, last summer, we had some summer youth associates, and we're hoping to do the same thing this upcoming summer. These are paid opportunities for high school students during the summer. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can email me. My email address is on the screen. It is rcarazana@northlight.org, or you can call me. My office number is 847-324-1615. And I'd love to hear from you. Introduce yourself, and we can tell you a little bit more about how you can be involved in all of the things that Northlight does. And that's my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey, E-Town, it's Miss Francelno, Career Partnership and Work-Based Learning Coordinator. I am here with one of our friends in the community, Miss Jasmine Lee, the General Manager of Hyatt House Evanston. And today, for our Arts and Communications Pathway, we are going to talk about opportunities in hospitality. Take it away, Jasmine.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so like she said, I'm Jasmine, general manager here at the hotel in Evanston. I actually got started in the hospitality career on a internship. In college, I did it for 10 weeks, was offered a full-time job at the front desk, and then transferred to Evanston, where I've been working since it opened. Started as a bartender, worked in the kitchen, went back to front desk, worked in sales, and then became GM. It's definitely a career worth exploring. I think the opportunities are endless. We can kind of walk through our presentation and see what kind of opportunities there are at the hotel. So just a little bit about the hotel specifically. It is 114 rooms, which is fairly small for a hotel. We have 2 meeting spaces and a bar in the lobby. Speaking of the lobby, it is the hub of the hotel. It'll be the heart of any hotel you work in. This is my favorite place in the whole hotel because it's where people check in. Most of your staff meetings will happen. It just is a very welcoming place. And you have your front desk, and this is where you get to meet anyone coming in for any reason. We have guests from Northwestern, people here doing other work in the area, people visiting their families. One of my favorite things is we're a pet-friendly hotel, so I get to meet all the dogs in the lobby as I'm a big dog person. But yeah, so if you work the front desk, you are stationed right in this little area here, typically handling a lot of checking in and checking out, but it's, more than that. We say it's a front desk agent, but you're actually a guest service agent, which, if someone needs something brought up to their room or someone has an issue with billing, you get to learn the ins and outs of all of that and just providing care for the guests. Being that we have 2 meeting spaces and a bar, there are some F&B opportunities. If you are someone who's passionate about food and beverage, maybe want to work in a restaurant or at a bar. I know you have to become of age first to do that, but still the opportunity is there. Our bar has a food menu. It is small finger foods, so wings, pizzas, fries, but it helps you get back in the kitchen and learn the mechanics of it. And you get to learn inventory, all things that are transferable skills for wherever you want to go in life. And then in addition to that, we do have 2 meeting spaces. So right now we actually have a basketball team in-house and they catered a meal with us. So tomorrow someone in the kitchen is going to be responsible for cooking a meal for a basketball team. And I think it's kind of nice just to be a part of that. Our rooms, housekeepers and public area attendants tend to these spaces. So like I said, I have 114 rooms. We typically employ anywhere from 5 to 8 housekeepers, depending on how busy we are. And they will go in after a room is departed, make sure the room is clean. And then we have a housekeeping supervisor as a role as well that goes in behind them and inspects the room. This is to make sure that no details were missed. There's no hair in the sink, anything like that. Small things, maybe the girls didn't really pay attention to. Sometimes they end up with a lot of rooms, but it is still so fun to get in and out of those rooms and, set the next guest up for success. Our public area attendants also tend to the fitness center, any hallway corridors and the lobby as well. I think this is fun because you get to see, you're just walking around the hotel all day. And again, guests coming in and out of their room, you get to interact, you get to make different connections. And then again, be a part of an integral part of the hotel where, if something's going wrong in the gym, me as a general manager may not know, but the public area attendant either fixes it themselves or comes and report it and we work on a solution together. And yeah, so then that's what I do. Me and the director of sales, kind of run things at a higher level, but are always here to support the staff however we can. And I think hospitality is a lot of fun. Again, having worked in almost every department, I learned a lot. Like I said, a lot of transferable skills dealing with inventory. If you're doing F&B, front desk, you get to make a whole bunch of connections that you might not make in any other job. Someone's checking in, you're having a conversation, you're set up for one. And it can go really, really far. And I think as an employee in hospitality, there are a lot of benefits outside of just the connections you can make. Specifically for our hotel and our brand, part of the job as a front desk agent is to sign people up for a rewards program. And every time you do, you get points yourself from the brand that you can use to buy actual things. I know one of my front desk agents, I think, just used her points to get a pair of AirPods. If you enjoy travel as well, it's always very helpful to get an employee discount. But there's just so many levels to hospitality, and I think it's great. That's why I've been doing it for 7 years. But that's about it. That's about us.
Thank you, Jasmine, for your awesome presentation. We will have job shadowing and summer internship opportunities with the Hyatt House, Evanston. So if you're interested students in learning about hospitality, be ready to sign up. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Hey, E-Town, it's Miss Francelno here, the Career Partnership and Work-Based Learning Coordinator. I am here with our next presenter for the Arts and Communications Pathway. We have the Evanston Roundtable in the house. I'm super excited that they're here to talk to us about careers in communications. Take it away, Roundtable.
Oh, thank you so much. We are so glad to be here. And we are hoping that by the end of this, if you were saying roundtable what, that maybe you'll be saying, hey, roundtable, yes, because we really think that the next generation of writers and reporters, we'd love them to come from Evanston. So my name is Susie Schultz. I'm the editor at the Evanston Roundtable, and I'm here with two of our phenomenal reporters. Why don't you introduce yourself, Duncan?
Yes, I'm Duncan Agnew. I am a reporter for the Roundtable. I've been with them since about October of 2021. So it's been a whirlwind year and just covering a little bit of everything. I'm originally from the DC area, and then I got to Evanston by going to Northwestern and studying journalism there. And then I just lucked into the opportunity to work with the Roundtable, and it's been such a great learning experience. And I'm really excited to talk to you all about it today.
Miss Gina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gina Castro. I'm the racial justice reporter for the Roundtable. It's a year-long fellowship funded by Northwestern, which I finished the grad program for investigative journalism in June. I've been with the Roundtable since August, and just a year-long relationship where I'll be reporting on reparations and equity issues and anything really racial justice.
That is great. We are very lucky. We have a relationship with Northwestern. So a number of the people who we employ actually come from Northwestern, but that's not just the case. We have also this wide range of people. I'm going to tell you just a little bit. I'm going to share the screen, tell you a little bit about who we are, just so that you get a sense. This is one of my favorite pictures. A photographer, Rich Cahan, he's a world-class photographer. He's written a number of books, published a number of books, and he's here because he loves taking pictures. And he takes a picture. He does this feature called At This Time, and he literally takes a picture every day. He's done that for this year to show what a community looks like. So what are you going to get from us? Well, we're hoping you're going to get a top-level journalism experience that's in your own backyard. Not only are we going to help talk to you about journalism and tell stories, but we're going to give you freedom to explore, freedom to try to figure out what the stories are you think are important in Evanston. And we're also going to give you the ability to be able to walk out of our newsroom, hopefully, and walk into any newsroom around the country. That's what we hope when you leave us, even for a small time, that you have wide open to you what journalism can be, what journalism will be, and what journalism should be. So this is us. I think you've already met us. But this is our website, a picture of our website. Actually, what's interesting is that this news outlet started as a print publication more than 20 years ago in Evanston, and it would appear on people's doorstep twice a month. Marion, Larry, and Gavin did that. And about 2 years ago, when they thought it would be time to retire, there's a whole bunch of people in your community who said, we need this, we want this, we don't want it to go away. And they stepped in, many of them just volunteers, nobody was really getting any money at all. And they reinvented the Roundtable. They made it a nonprofit. It's really a digital startup, which for us is a little difficult, but is exciting because we're often reinventing how we do things almost on a daily basis. So what's great is instead of going to an internship at a big place where everything is structured, we're not that structured. We're very open to what you want to do. So these are some of the things we covered, and we cover schools. And we just this week featured ETHS's Evanstonians' wonderful package on public safety, because the voices that you all have are just so important. And they would be so wonderful to have at the Roundtable. We've got about 7 full-time staffers, but we've got a whole bunch of part-timers as well. And we have dozens of community freelance writers. We've had internship programs, and my guess is we're going to have one this summer. And hopefully you'll be part of it. But if you have a desire to write, or you have a story that you feel that you have to tell, you can always give us a call at the round table, and we'll be happy to talk to you about, hey, maybe that story doesn't work for us, but we know where you could put it, and we know how you could do it. And we'll be happy to help you, because we're not just a newspaper and a news outlet. We're a member of the community. And so we're here to help you. So what can you expect to do at the round table? Well, we'd like to think that the options are only limited by what you're thinking. So we tell stories via any platform for storytelling. Some of them we're not as weak on because we don't have a huge staff, but maybe you could take us on Instagram to tell stories there. That would be wonderful. And you see those great pictures again. Staff takes pictures. Rich takes pictures. Gina, you take pictures. Duncan, you take pictures, right?
Yes, we do.
Do you think like you're learning photography on the job?
Yes, it's a really good experience. And one of the fascinating things about working for the Roundtable is, you might go out to any particular meeting or event, or just walking around the community. And one of the best things that you can do is just ask questions or take a photo. And we really have a long leash to be able to do whatever inspires us. And I think that's really special.
So we're hoping we had an amazing person working for us, Miss Debbie Marie, for a year. She was in the Racial Justice Fellowship as well, and she took us onto TikTok. We have not been back there since Debbie Marie left, and we'd love it. Maybe you're the one who's going to take us back to TikTok. You can also do photography and video storytelling. Right here, this is just a wonderful picture of this young woman, as we call it, soccer ballet. She's kicking this at night, and again, our photographers, some of them are volunteers from the community, but they were professionals. Rich Cahan is really our photo editor and photographer. He has taught photography. So in other words, we have ways to support you. I've taught as well at the college level and the high school level journalism. So again, we've got about 3 or 4 editors who really know how to help you move things along and let you see, you don't have to want to be a journalist for your whole life. Maybe you just want to explore, is this something I want to do? And if the most that we can do for you is help you decide that, hey, maybe I don't want to be a journalist, that's totally fine. But maybe you'll decide that this is what you want to do, is tell stories. So finding stories that matter to you is really, really important. And I think that that's something that I really wanted Duncan and Gina to talk about a little bit. Whether that's questioning power. I think, when you're in high school and sometimes you're feeling powerless, the ability to be able to ask power questions is amazing. Maybe you're talking and thinking about business. So again, this gives you the opportunity to talk to business people while you're profiling them. Or maybe you just want to tell stories about the fascinating people in your neighborhood, in your community, that you think everybody should know. We're open to that as well. So I thought that maybe our reporters were asked if they could maybe take a look at some of the stories that they were excited about doing. And these are some of the ones that Gina chose. Gina, I cannot tell you how amazingly pleased, and it was just phenomenal to watch you on election night discover a story. Could you tell them a little bit about the disparity in polling places, the shortages in the 5th and 8th wards, and how that came about?
Yeah, it started out with a question, just me trying to understand, how does voting in Evanston work? Where do people go to vote? And so I found on the Cook County Clerk's website all of the polling places that were in all 9 wards in Evanston. And I started just wondering, how many polling places are in each ward? Are the polling places actively open? And then I just hopped in my car and drove to every single one of them to double check. Because in other cities, I'm from the South. So in the South, it's pretty, it's unfortunate, but it's pretty common to have, those kind of issues of polling places being closed or having long polling lines. And usually those issues appear in communities of color and low income communities. So once I started looking into that, it kind of just kept unraveling from there. And I found out that, our elected officials in Evanston weren't familiar themselves with what determines a polling place being in each ward. And so I just kept pursuing that story. And I was very fortunate to have editors like Susie help me keep pursuing that story.
It was amazing because you were supposed to be doing something else on election night, and you called and you said, something's not right here. And it's like, just go figure it out, go figure out what's there, forget what else you're doing. Because again, what we love here is that the instincts of the reporters and the people who are out covering, sometimes those are paramount, as opposed to, hey, we have to cover this meeting or we have to do this. And you are very familiar as well with meetings, Gina. You cover many of them because so much in Evanston happens during this meeting structure. And one of the things that made headlines across the country was this whole story about the idea that Evanston wanted topless beaches. And that's about when you came to join us, and you just totally deconstructed and took the air out of that clickbait story, correct?
Yes. There were, many stories saying that it was that Evanston wanted topless beaches, but of course that wasn't the case. Instead, what they were looking for was gender neutral language in ordinances. And so what I did was I started looking at nearby cities and seeing how do they draft their public nudity ordinances? Do they use a lot of gendered language? Is there a lot of lawsuits across the country of people suing cities that have ordinances like a public nudity ordinance that's really geared toward just women? And the answer to those questions were yes. Other cities do get sued quite often for millions of dollars for having ordinances that are really gendered, like Evanston's. And surrounding cities, they didn't have quite as gendered language around their nudity ordinance. So I wrote that story, and I don't know if it's really truly connected, but it ended up being that the city voted to change that ordinance.
I think, Gina, that you really reframed the whole story about what was important as opposed to what seemed kind of salacious, and it just really changed the dynamic of the discussion. And I think that's what's powerful in storytelling, and it's so simple the way it starts because it's a question. And you did that same type of questioning when they were hiring a police chief here, which was a really long process. We'd had an interim police chief forever, it felt like, and you were observing that process, and that's how you got this other story, correct?
Yeah, this other story about the police chief, the search for the police chief, was a long search, but I realized, or I learned, I think it was actually an activist in the area. I think they gave us a tip, but they said, I don't think, that the city actually did a national search as they've kind of been implying. So then we called up the elected officials in the city and asked, how was the search for the sheriff? How did we come to these candidates? And it turned out that the city really just kind of all had their own personal referrals and said, these are the candidates we should look at. And it's important to inform the community about that search because, transparency is crucial for the community, and the community should know that what their elected officials decided, how they decided to search for their police chief, because that of course has impact on the community.
Yeah, government is made of people, and people often make mistakes. And so our job is really to say, are you following what you say is the law or the laws you made? And that is that ability to question power. That's our job. It's a big responsibility. It's also slightly exciting to be able to say to somebody, you did this, you have this title. Why did you do it? It doesn't seem really right. So that's one of the stories in this list of yours, Duncan, the lifeguard story, which was pretty amazing and really affected a lot of high school students, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And, this, as many of you will know, this broke in 2021 over the summer. And it was the story from WBEZ initially in Chicago that really exposed a lifeguard sexual harassment scandal that was happening in Evanston and in Chicago on the lakefront. And, it swept through basically every city department. It totally rocked the city in myriad ways. And this was actually right after I joined the roundtable. And one of the first things I did was I sat down and I said, I want to see if there's more to be learned or gleaned from this story. And the way that I approached it was I used the Freedom of Information Act to request documents like emails back and forth between city officials over a period of multiple years, addressing these allegations and ultimately mishandling these allegations, which an independent law firm found and confirmed last February, I believe.
I just want to say that it started out with young women about the age of some of these students who basically said this is wrong, who had the courage to kind of stand up. And then you really followed up a lot of those claims, because unfortunately we can't just print claims. We have to find ways to kind of substantiate and verify it. And you really went to bat to try to figure out how to support these stories, right? And bring them in a way we could publish them, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And it's like Susie said, there's a high bar to clear to be able to publish these allegations and back them up with evidence. And, I think that's what really was required, is to look and say, okay, we hear that these young women are making these really, really awful allegations and, indicative of a broken system. And, we had to sit down and say, how do we find proof of that broken system? How do we find proof that the people in power actually actively dismissed these cases or didn't properly handle them or meet with these young women who brought these allegations forward? And it's never a great day when you find that it was handled so poorly, and you find emails going back and forth where city officials are basically trying to hand off responsibility for this. But it's extremely important, just like Jeannie was talking about. There's very few things that we have done that could rise to the level of holding our public officials accountable, especially for doing something that really negatively impacted a wide swath of the population, especially young people at ETHS. And so, I think it was just so important.
So we're going to go from that. The story, and I'm going to ask you to be quick on this because we might have talked a little bit too long already. Not you, but me. I apologize. So the drug overdoses and death surge in Evanston during the pandemic. What's amazing is this news publication started during the pandemic. So it started when it really couldn't go out and report on things. It started when the only pictures you could take were people with masks, and still it's managed to succeed. And this was a story that you did. It was in 2022, but it was about the numbers, right?
Yeah, and it was about the numbers of overdoses and deaths specifically related to opioids in Evanston during the pandemic mainly, but from 2019 through 2022 basically. And what I found was that they had skyrocketed. It's a small sample size because we live in a town of about 80,000 people. But the raw numbers had gone up significantly and even bigger in terms of per capita. And one of the reasons why I explored this, it was another question. I saw this in the New York Times. They came out, I think, in January of last year, or of this year, actually, with a big investigation exposing how much drug overdoses and deaths had increased during the pandemic. And I just kind of sat there and I said, wow, that's amazing. I wonder if the same situation is happening on a local level in Evanston. And once again, I used the Freedom of Information Act to request the numbers and the names of these people and their causes of death. And lo and behold, I found a really concerning trend that was really important to report on, because we hadn't really heard about the numbers or the trends from the police department on this, or from the fire department. So I think that was a great story as well.
So I wanted to end on this one because, again, this was one of the things that we want to show and talk about in the community are the serious issues, the issues that we've been talking about, the ones that people don't necessarily discuss unless we ask them to. But what we also want to do is we want to capture not just the bad and the ugly about Evanston, but also the good and the stories of life and the stories of people. And this was something Father's Day and Juneteenth fell out on the same weekend, and I, Duncan, for the most part, has been doing some pretty serious stories. Duncan and Gina both, and this was not. This was something where it's called a person on the street interview, right? And just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I think I wanted to talk about this one because I think it was a great example of the depth and breadth of what you can do at the roundtable. And this was Susie and I just kind of getting together and saying, okay, it's Friday, Father's Day is on Sunday, Juneteenth is also on Sunday. And what can we do to honor both of these holidays, but also see what they mean to people? What are people going to do to celebrate? And I ended up just going and walking around the main Dempster Mile business district and jumping into a bunch of different stores and restaurants and places like that, and sitting down with people and saying, hey, what are you guys doing for the holidays, for Juneteenth or for Father's Day? What does that mean to you? What are you getting together with your family? How are you celebrating? And just by asking a bunch of people that question, I ended up with all of these amazing stories about what this day meant, how people wanted to honor and mark the date, and what it meant for their families. And I think it was a really great example of the power we have just to share the everyday stories of the everyday people in Evanston. And it's a reminder that not all the stories necessarily come from City Hall. And I think that was a great story. And I think something that is, again, indicative of all the ways that you can approach different stories in Evanston.
And it's exciting because you actually get to go up to people and say, I really legitimately have to ask you these questions. So what can you do at the round table? Really, you can learn global journalism on a local level because so much that's going on in Evanston is very global. We're talking about reparations. We're talking about climate change. We're really talking about finding out reversing busing, all of these very deep and meaty subjects, but you can also find a way to tell the stories of life. So we're lucky to be able to talk to you today. We hope we're able to see you at the roundtable soon. Give us a call. We'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, roundtable friends. We're so grateful you're here. We had so much good information for our students to learn. And if anyone's interested in exploring, please reach out to us, myself or Ms. Vasquez, for more information. Hey, E-Town, it's Ms. Francelno here, the Career Partnership and Work-Based Learning Coordinator. This is our third panel this year so far, and we're actually featuring arts and communications careers. And we have a wonderful speaker today we're going to do a panel discussion with. They are Butcher Boys Studio, for Jim Tullio and his intern Soren are here to talk to us a little bit about Butcher Boy and what they offer in the area of music production for ETHS students. So let's start the conversation. So Jim, you want to tell us a little bit about Butcher Boy and who you are and how you got to Evanston?
Well, I'm not sure about how I got to Evanston, but that's too convoluted.
Gotcha.
But anyway, Butcher Boy, I opened the studio in 2008, and been doing, I've been in the business over 50 years. So I've been producing records for over 50 years. I've done over 100 albums, and I've won 2 Grammys and wrote thousands of jingles. I mean, I've done pretty much everything. I've done a couple of films. I mean, on and on and on. So in 2020, and I'm not sure if it's unfortunate or not, but about 2 weeks before the pandemic, we started this program. And the reason why I started the program, I just thought it's time to give back. And I've always mentored kids my whole career. And I just thought, well, let's sort of make it official. And I just saw a real need for this in a high school age situation. Before this, from 94 to 2012, I taught in a college. I taught music production in a college. And so I did that for almost 17 years. And so I took the same principles, same curriculum structure, and applied it to this program for high school kids. Because frankly, I've always thought that high school kids were more receptive and hungrier than college kids. And it turns out that is the case. So, we started 2 weeks before the pandemic, then the pandemic hit. And fortunately for us, we only had 1 or 2 students at a time. And what we do is we take songs they write or covers of other songs that they want to record, and we do full tracks. So it'll take 2 to 3 days usually per track. And during the pandemic, they were here, and we wore masks, and students sat off the riser of the studio, and they were, separate from me more than 6 feet, and it worked great. So we've been doing this now for, over 2.5 years, and we've done 97 tracks in 2.5 years, which is
amazing.
an intense amount of work. I mean, to put it in real world terms, that's almost 10 albums in 2.5 years. That's a lot of work. And it's been really, really successful.
Wonderful. So what's the mission of Butcher Boy, and what does your future look like for students?
So I've got a little slide here that hopefully will work.
Yeah.
But this is a little something we just wrote up, kind of put into writing.
So our mission is just to help young kids get an entree into the music business and the world of recording. I mean, when I taught at Columbia, I discovered that a music career path was one of the most popular career paths. And I think it's that way. I think it's still that way to some degree. And I think the reason is that recording and music and all kinds of art are so accessible now because of the internet and computers, and everybody can do it to some degree. But it doesn't mean that it's good. I mean, because everyone is doing it, it creates a sea of garbage, and so my mission is to teach these kids the real way and in my opinion, the best way to do this. And most of them don't have a clue. I mean, they only know, whatever they know on their phone or on their laptop. They don't know the real procedures of making music or creating art or whatever it may be. My specialty is music. So that's why I decided to do this. And it's also a way to give back. And I think Soren might be able to add a couple words to that too.
Yeah, and a lot of it's about making music up to, like a very professional standard and bringing it into a studio where people can collaborate with their friends, and it makes for a good space to be creative and make a really impressive finished product.
Yeah. I mean, most of these kids, if they've recorded, and a lot of them have recorded something, but it's usually in their bedroom or in their basement or their garage or whatever it may be. None of these kids have really been in a real studio. And, there's not many left, Tanya.
Yes.
Tana. There's not many left in the world because of everyone's doing it themselves. Yes. So it's put a lot of studios out of business, but you'll never get the sound you want to get when you listen to your world-class artists. You're never going to get that sound in your bedroom. It's just not going to happen. And there's a million reasons why, and I'm not going to bore you with the explanation, but there's a process and equipment that needs to be used to make music and audio sound really good. And we have all that. We have a world-class studio here. I mean, I would put this studio up to any studio in the world.
Where is Butcher Boy located? Just want to let all the students know where you all are in Evanston.
It's in Evanston. It's on the southeast corner of Asbury and Washington.
Fantastic.
Can't miss it.
Great. So could we just talk a little bit more about what you're looking for and how you'd like to engage with more ETHS students for your program?
Well, I mean, we're looking for more students. I mean, we've probably worked with upwards towards 40 kids. And we've done 97 tracks, but we've done multiple tracks with a number of students. So we'd like to add to that. And in the last month or so, we've gotten a number of new faces. But, we still can get more. We've also opened it up, believe it or not, to Providence St. Mel in the city. But it's sort of become a problem. We've done 2 tracks with them. But the problem with Providence St. Mel is it's so far away. And it takes them a long time to get here. A lot of the kids don't have transportation, whatever. But it's still open to them. And we may open it up to other kids too. And we also may start getting the word out that we would open it up to Evanston residents, whether they go to the school or not.
Great. So there's an expansion plan in place for you to reach even more music production enthusiasts in the community. We're working really good in partnership with ETHS students and really creating some magical music out of Butcher Boy. We'd love for you all to be a part of our Job Shadow Week. If that's something that's an opportunity for students, we would love that. And then let's continue to keep working on recruiting students. So tell us a little bit about the music. Is there any way we could hear more about some of the tracks or hear some of the artists, the young artists that have been inspired by working with you, Jim and Soren? Would you all like to showcase any of the music that's coming out of Butcher Boy?
Soren created a small, short little video of 3 excerpts of 3 students. So we'll play that now.
Green like the leaves of the trees I miss. They grow in summer, die in fall. I didn't know until I traveled here, 'cause I'd never seen one at all. Velvet like I'd never felt before. It's like something she would have worn. I'm not like her at all. I'm sick of guarding what I have left. I'm sick of hoping I'll be enough. I'm sick of this life that I've been living was all I knew. I want this clean one that I lived for a moment with you. I'm sick of this mess, and I hate this dress.
And that's it.
That is fantastic music. I am so impressed and proud of the ETHS students that have taken the extra steps to work with you in partnership with Soren to help them really create this beautiful music. It is so inspiring, and I really hope that we can find more ETHS students to connect to this wonderful opportunity at Butcher Boy Studios. Is there any final closing statements or comments you'd like to make for the audience, Jim or Soren?
I want to say a few words about those tracks and those students. Beatrice Andrews started with us when she was in 8th grade. In fact, that song she wrote when she was in 8th grade. We recorded it when she was a freshman. She's now a sophomore. And we've completed a whole record with her, and she now has a record deal through Color Red Music. And her first album will be out in the spring. Ryan, we started with, Ryan was the first student we had here. He and Jacob Fisher, they were the first kids to come here to record. And Ryan has a full album he's done with us. And he released that, himself released that, and that's on YouTube. And the third artist is T.T. Miller. And T.T. graduated last year. She also has gotten a record deal. And her record may be out before the spring. But she's getting a lot of attention, and she's moving pretty quickly right now. So those three we're really proud of, because they're all really doing something, and they're on their way to a career in music, through this program.
That is fantastic. And that is the work we want to continue to do with ETHS students, is giving them this opportunity and this creative outlet. The pathways, arts and communications, and this fits right in that pathway. It's really important that students understand that this is a great place to do a hands-on experience. There's a real studio there where you can really start to exercise those experiences. Can you tell me a little bit about the time of day, or what the best time for students to connect with you all?
Well, I mean, during the school year, it's normally after school. Some days they're off at 2. Other days they're off at 4. During the summer, we keep this going all summer, so we're free. We're free to them all day during the summer. So basically, during the school year, it's after school. Some weekends we try to take some time off on the weekends, but if we have to, we'll work weekends too, if that's the only time they can make it.
Great. And Soren, tell me a little bit about what you've gotten out of your experience working with Jim and Butcher Boy over the past year and a half.
Yeah, so I met Jim 2 years ago now, and he gave me at first I just came in to play bass guitar on my friend's song, and then he invited me to record a song I wrote, and that was, like, he said that, and then I went home and wrote the first song I ever wrote, and I hate it, and I can't even listen to it, but I came back like the next day and we recorded it, and it was amazing. And I learned a ton. And then like 6 months later, I signed up as an intern. And so now I've just been here, and I've met a lot of people through this. I've gotten other jobs doing sound. I've gotten connected with musicians who hire me to play with them live. So it's been a great opportunity to meet people, get into the community, and to make awesome music.
That
And
is
Soren,
so great.
I want to add, Soren's a terrific musician. I mean, he's really terrific. And on 90% of the tracks we do, he's playing bass. So he's our in-house bass player. He also plays guitar. And he's also a member of T.T. Miller's band. And he also plays with Beatrice Andrews live as well. So Soren's an all-around.
So yeah, come join the family. We're all
love that. That's fantastic. Yes.
Make music together. So it's a blast around here.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you so much. I think this is a wonderful introduction for students to learn about Butcher Boy. Such beautiful music is being created out of your studio right here in Evanston. We want to make sure that students have this presented to them as an opportunity to explore music and music production. And so we're really grateful that you all were able to hang out with us and do a quick panel to showcase the beautiful work that's coming out of your studio. Super excited to continue building our partnership, and I look forward to seeing you all really soon.
Thanks, Town.
Thanks, Lauren.
See y'all.
Hey, E-Town, it's Miss Francelno here. We are with our next presenter, Oakton Community College. We are going to be featuring arts and communications careers and the pathway at Oakton for arts and communications. Take it away, team.
Hello, and welcome to our presentation on the new career and technical education pathways in arts and communication at Oakton. My name is Eric Rohn. I'm the coordinator of graphic design here at Oakton, which includes 2 of the new digital content creation certificates that we're going to be presenting today.
And my name is Donovan Bro. I am the chair of the English department, and most of the communications courses at Oakton fall under our department.
So the important thing here is to talk to high school students about career and technical education opportunities. And it's really interesting to see the number of students coming out of high school, coming to Oakton, specifically looking for some sort of content creation career. And I'm not just talking about YouTubers or Twitch streamers, social media influencers, things like that. There's actually a lot of business opportunities in the field doing this kind of work. So these skills are not only skills that students are particularly interested in, but they're skills that now businesses are starting to value as well. And so content marketing is the general term for this. And businesses are creating new jobs specifically for tech savvy and creative individuals. These could cover topics like video production, podcasting, social media management. So these are emerging fields that didn't exist 20 years ago. And all of these skills with video creation and streaming media is really becoming an important, valuable asset to these businesses and their marketing. So a lot of opportunities in this field. So many people are engaging in creating content and consuming media online these days. So whether it's your social media platforms or watching YouTube videos, the shift in the audience and the viewership has moved away from traditional advertising. And the whole marketing paradigm has been disrupted with this social content. So new skill sets are required to effectively create digital audiovisual media and content for online. And businesses are targeting that for their audiences. So this is something that we are seeing more and more opportunities emerge in these industries. On the screen here, you'll see some examples of behind the scenes video shoots that our students have done here at Oakton. We have a club that is completely student run called the Oakton Visual Organization. It started out kind of as your college version of an AV club. So we do photography, documentary photography, and videography of student life on campus primarily. And you can see some stills from the Instagram page for Oakton Visual there. We also had students one year interview several of our administration for virtual addresses. Even before the pandemic, there were times where our administration needed to be in 2 places at once. And so they might need to attend an event in person and then also have some sort of opening statement pre-recorded. And so we worked with the Vice President of Academic Affairs, the president of our college, and to do sit-down interviews and opening addresses to record those for these events. Really great experience for students to get hands-on with the equipment, setting up lighting, setting up microphones, recording, editing video, all with some pretty high-level administrators at Oakton. So they get to, get the name recognition and get to have that exposure to some of the people that are working here at the college. We also had students take on promotional videos to promote our department. And so you see some stills here that are representative of 4 promotional videos that were produced here by our students to show off our new facilities. We recently just renovated all of our ceramics labs for fine arts, our Mac lab, which is primarily for graphic design, web design, as well as our chemical dark room. So we still do process and shoot 35 millimeter film, medium format film, and actually print in the dark room. We also have a brand new state-of-the-art lighting and photography studio. So if you're looking to do digital photography or film photography, we've got great spaces for you to do that work as well. And that also is open to our video production and digital content creation students, as well as our photography students. Here's some more images from the art and design department promo videos, again, representing those 4 new spaces. We also, even more recently than this, have created a dedicated podcasting and streaming room. So we have set up where students can come and sit at a table with 4 microphones and a mixer and an audio interface and a digital audio workstation, and record their own voiceovers, record podcasts, and stream to things like YouTube Live and Twitch. These were all completely conceptualized, storyboarded. All the pre-production, production, and post-production was handled entirely by students. And so you can see more still images here from those. These images are from other student life events. So these were more documentarian. Students would just show up and document student life and activities, whether it was our trick-or-treat event around Halloween, a lip sync contest where faculty, staff, and students competed in a lip sync contest, or our Phi Theta Kappa Student Honors Society here at Oakton. In addition to all of that, students also documented our Women and Gender and Sexuality Studies Museum reception, and so that's in the top left there. As well as we had some student athletes who wanted to do team spotlights with the tennis team. And so we had a tennis player interview the coaches, interview the men's and women's tennis players, and do little vignettes or little spotlights on their teammates. So really many, many ways to engage with the campus life here at Oakton and document that through photography and videography, all making digital content for social media, for sharing with the college community, or just a extracurricular here at Oakton to get your hands on some equipment outside of class in a little more informal environment to reinforce the skills that you do learn in the class. So we talk a little bit about social media. Obviously, emerging careers around social media are growing. So we see a lot of content marketing jobs, things like social media managers, digital management. These jobs are always shifting in what the job titles require, but the skills that you learn here at Oakton are going to be very general as far as covering critical thinking, covering how to write content for a specific audience, which I'll let Donovan talk about later, as well as the technical skills that you'll need to produce that content. Here we can look at the market growth, so specifically looking at the different industries over time and what this growth in these fields look like. And you can see specific skills like digital marketing, project management, data analysis, as well as writing. And then the soft skills are always important. Donovan and I are both in the liberal arts here, and so we always promote the communication skills, the writing skills, the critical thinking skills, things like social perceptiveness, fluency of ideas, and leadership and communication. These are all the soft skills that we do reinforce. So this gets me to introduce Oakton's new digital content creation pathways, which consists of 2 interdisciplinary career and technical certifications. The first one is digital audio content creation, and the second is digital video content creation. If you're navigating the Oakton website and trying to find these digital content creation certificates, you'd want to start by looking for the areas of interest page on the website, and the URL is there at the bottom of the screen under the academics area and areas of interest. The digital content creation certificates live under the Department of Graphic Design, which is in with the area of interest of fine performing and applied arts. I am the coordinator. Again, my name is Eric Rohn, so you can reach out to me for any questions. But our certificates in digital content creation also include coursework in technical writing, mass communications, and business and marketing, because these are the skills that we feel round out a very successful student for this type of work. And those courses are truly interdisciplinary. So we're pulling from the humanities and languages for the mass communications and writing courses. And we're also pulling from the business and marketing side, which is in our professional practices area of interest. So when we talk about pathways at Oakton, if you're not familiar with that term, we are creating direct lines from high school through Oakton to a credential. And we're trying to structure it in a way where there's not too much choice in terms of open-ended electives or confusing prerequisites. We're really trying to give you a very streamlined, low barrier of entry to get right into the courses that are going to give you the skills you need to get the certification and start working in the industry. So you can see the first one here is digital audio content creation. And while it is only 18 credits, it could technically be done in one semester. For one, our studio courses in graphic design are 6 contact hours, which are 5 clock hours straight through each week. So that's either 1 5-hour class or 2 2.5-hour classes every week. So that does add up to be quite a bit of contact time. So at the moment, we are splitting that up to where we offer 1 studio course in the fall and 1 studio course in the spring. And then the EGL courses, which are our English and writing courses, as well as our marketing and business courses, can be filled in around those studio courses. And what's great about this is these credentials are what are considered stackable, which means if you look at the digital video content creation, you won't see much change except those first 2 studio courses that I mentioned. So in the audio content creation, we're focusing on an introduction to streaming media and digital content. That covers things like audio recording, podcasting, and live streaming. We take out the heavier lift of filming narrative videos, using expensive cameras, doing a post-production edit, things like that. We're trying to go audio only at first and then open up more of the live streaming to where we're not worried so much about everything being scripted and everything being edited. Really, it's much, again, it's a lower barrier of entry. The second studio course there is Introduction to Sound Design. So once you learn how to do some recording of a podcast, in the sound design class, we get much more into immersive soundscapes, ambient backgrounds, adding sound effects, things like that that are more designing the entire audio performance or the entire audio program. With the video production, this is where we do get into using the cameras. We learn how to do nonlinear editing in programs like Adobe Premiere. And then we also add to that in the spring semester, motion graphics. We're seeing motion graphics really become a primary skill set that employers are looking for, because not only are social media posts photography based or image based, now more and more Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat are moving more towards motion media and video. And so having the ability to add some, not only just adding text to the screen, but adding some animated elements as well through motion graphics is really becoming a more and more important skill. And so if you're looking to do more of the video content creation, we offer you the full video production and motion graphics course. The other 4 courses you'll see are the exact same. So whether you're doing the audio or video, you will take the EGL 211 and 220, and then the marketing 131 and 266, or equivalent. I added the or equivalent because there are so many offerings in our business and marketing department that might make more sense to you. And we want to give you flexibility where you need it, but at the same time, we don't want to hit you with 30 options and make you choose one out of a long list. So these are the ones that we're recommending. And then if you think like a business 101 is more up your alley, we can look at substitutions and ways to fulfill those certificate requirements by subbing in those courses. And so here is the same information presented a little differently. Again, the skills we're really looking for, building out the technical proficiency, the digital marketing skills, as well as the writing. And so this is how we break those out. Including the project management. Again, that business 101 was an early contender to be required. I still think it's a fantastic course that most students should take. And if that is something that you are interested in pursuing, you can either take that in substitution or just in addition to the certificate. These certificates are only 18 credits. And again, only 12 of them, or only 2 of the courses are unique. And so if you already fulfilled one of those certificates, and then you're taking maybe just the 2 video courses, the video production and motion graphics, adding a business 101 to that would be a fantastic way to round out those skills. So we like to mention that here as well. What you see on your screen now is actually from Robert Half in the Creative Group's salary guide from 2021. This is my go-to resource because it really helps students not only get a sense of what these jobs are called in these emerging fields, but also an idea of what kind of salaries are in place. So Robert Half is one of the nation's largest staffing agencies, and the Creative Group is specifically the creative business marketing, advertising, and creative services arm of that. And so you can see here on the left side, some hot jobs, things like content strategist. That might be a job you didn't know existed, right? That's something that is specific to content marketing, strategy, and how to build a plan around the content that you will be creating. Things like copywriters, and again, Donovan will talk to more of the technical communication and writing here in a minute. Graphic designer, marketing analyst, SEO, SEM, UI, UX, lots of acronyms as far as search engine optimization, user interface design, user experience research and design. A lot of career paths here that you may not even know exist. And so on the right side, you can see a list of titles for different jobs, as well as a 25, 50, 75, and 95th percentile. And so that's just a range of salaries based on the lowest 25th, lowest 25 percentile, 50th percentile, and so on. Gives you an idea of where you might start and then how high you could go in these various jobs. We're also seeing a big push here at Oakton, as well as in the industry, for inclusion and diversity. So jobs and businesses are really looking to diversify their workforce and have a very socially conscious message around their branding. And so having students who come in with a little bit of additional knowledge around how to create content that is socially conscious, responsible, observing different perspectives, working in diversity and inclusion. These are all big topics or big areas that businesses are really putting attention towards now. And it's being seen as a valuable skill set to bring into these jobs. And again, on the right, a handful of social media specialists, email marketing management, additional jobs. And there are pages and pages of this in the salary guide. I believe you can get this for free just by giving an email if you look up the Creative Group's salary guide.
All right. Hi, everybody. Just once again, my name is Donovan Bro. I am the chair of the English department over at Oakton, and our communications courses, for the most part, fall under the English department. Eric already told you a little bit about the way that the writing digital content or writing for the web and our mass communications classes fit into the credentials. But most of our courses are ones that you would take if you are interested in pursuing an associate's degree, and they're required courses actually in virtually every associate's degree, and in some CTE and some certificate programs require them as preparation for job skills, not just for college transfer. So here you can see some of the courses that we do teach as part of the communications area. The effective speech class obviously is in the speech department, but we do teach things like the mass communications and the digital or writing digital content for the certificates. But we also teach things like journalism and technical writing applications if you are interested in going into those two fields and pursuing something before you go into a four-year institution. Now, even if you're not going into a four-year institution, communications courses are required in some of our CTE and certificate programs, because communication skills are one of the top skills that employers look for. And you can see this quote up here from Indeed.com, a place we all go to for career information, that they're required in virtually every job. And specifically for some of our certificate programs, like the digital content creators, Eric, can you go to the next slide, please? The reason why you need to do these is because everything done professionally in any kind of media starts with writing. So we want you to take the writing digital content courses and the mass communications courses, because even if you're producing a podcast that people are listening to, or if you're helping to produce a video that people are watching, all those things have been planned out in some way, in some form of writing, whether that is storyboarding or doing scripts, doing interview research, preparing interview questions. So if you're producing your own podcast, you're going to have to do a lot of writing behind the scenes. But if you go to work for a company helping someone else produce a series of YouTube videos, you might start off working as a researcher in their writing department to help generate some interview questions, for example. We also, in the literature department or in the English department, have courses that are in the humanities and literature. And Eric just spoke to the value of diversity and how employers value the way of looking at different cultures and looking at your own culture through a different lens. And literature courses are a great way to do that. You can see some of the classes that we have up here. A lot of these are brand spanking new. We've got Asian American literature and Latinx literature being offered for the first time this academic year. And we've also got Introduction to Global Literature. We're developing a West African literature course out of a grant that we just got. And we've had African American literature for quite a while now. The humanities courses also help develop critical thinking skills. So when you're analyzing a piece of literature or a film or a comic book or a television show, you do things like analysis, inference. You engage in problem solving. When you're writing research papers about those things, you have to determine source credibility. And critical thinking is one of the soft skills that employers also are very keen in having in their employees, and are also very good to have if you decide to start your own business. So working with a literary text in a lot of ways prepares you to work with other types of text. So if you go to the next slide, please, Eric. Yeah, these are areas that English majors, people who sit around and read literature all day, sometimes go into that you don't often think about. Law. A lot of law schools don't actually want you to be a pre-law major. They want you to have a degree in something else. And a lot of lawyers actually start off as English majors because we prepare you to deal with text. And that's what law is. It is a text. Advertising, it's a lot of times based in narrative, right? If you see traditional 30-second to 60-second commercials during the Super Bowl, right? The ones that make the most money, that has a story behind it, right? And all that narrative is very much based in literary studies. Journalism, podcast writing, right? These type of things that are usually considered to be in the journalistic fields. Those also have a home in writing and communications in the English department at Oakton. And some areas that people don't usually think about an English major going into: web page development and video game development. Anytime you've got something that is narrative in its basis, even if your choices as a gamer, for example, affect the way that narrative unfolds, all of those potential narratives are branched out, right? And somebody who really knows how to structure a narrative has to think about that before they sit down and do all the technical stuff of developing a game. So a lot of our communications and literature courses don't just prepare you to, say, write a good paper or to think about a work of literature in an interesting way. They also help prepare you for very grounded careers that are based in technical skills that Eric's program helps to teach. All right, that's it for the communication side.
Excellent. Thank you, Donovan. And so on your screen here, you see a QR code as well as a link to a Google form. So if you have a smartphone handy, if you want to scan that QR code, it'll take you to a Google form to get more information about these certificates. Whatever you put into the fields in the form gets sent to me in an email, and I will share any inquiries you have with Donovan and the team here at Oakton. So thank you all for your time, and I appreciate you being here and watching the video. And thanks to Donovan for helping out with the English and technical writing side of things today.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, that is all the time that we have this evening. Thank you again, eTown, and to our local business partners for joining us this evening for our ETHS Career Pathway Info Session, highlighting our arts and communication pathway. A very big thank you to Northlight Theater, Hyatt House Hotel, the Evanston Roundtable, Butcher Boy School of Music Production, and Oakton College. We hope that you will all join us again for future ETHS Career Pathway Info Sessions on our ETHS YouTube channel. A reminder, our next YouTube info session is on Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. We'll be featuring some local business partners offering opportunities for our Evanston youth in IT, human, and public services. Remember, students, check your email to pay attention to announcements for the iKit application link and for other details as we get closer to February. Happy holidays, eTown. Thank you, and go Kids.